Why Queen Letizia confiscated Leonor's phone. The room is quiet in a way only palaces ever are. Not empty. Controlled. Morning light settles across polished floors inside Zarzuela Palace, diffused through centuries of habit. Nothing here is accidental. Not the silence. Not the timing. Not the hand that reaches out. In that instant, it looks ordinary. Almost parental. A mother setting a boundary. A device removed from a teenager's hand. But nothing about this moment is ordinary. Because the woman standing there is Queen Letizia. And the girl in front of her is Princess Leonor. What is being taken is not a phone. What is being withdrawn is access. To spontaneity. To unscripted presence. To a private self that modern life teaches us to believe is a right. In monarchies, privacy is not a right. It is a concession. This is the living thread of continuity. Spain does not train its future head of state through affection alone. It trains through subtraction, by removing what the institution cannot afford to lose control over. At first glance, the public understood this moment as discipline. A protective mother. A strict household. A royal version of a familiar argument repeated in kitchens around the world. But that reading collapses under scrutiny. Because confiscation, in royal terms, is never about behavior. It is about exposure. By the time Princess Leonor entered formal military and constitutional preparation, her life was no longer hers in the modern sense. Every image, every message, every accidental recording carried weight beyond the individual. A single unguarded moment could ripple through markets, parliaments, and foreign ministries. And here is the first uncomfortable truth. The crown does not fear rebellion. It fears informality. At minute 2, the question sharpens. If this was merely about security, why now? Why this precise moment? Why this silence around it? Because continuity is not abstract here, it is embodied in visible presence. Spain's monarchy survives not through charisma, but through predictability. Stability. Rituals that reassure a country shaped by memory of fracture. A future queen cannot be seen drifting between worlds. Not online, not unsupervised, not reachable in the way ordinary citizens expect to be reachable. This is where misunderstanding begins. Modern democracies celebrate accessibility. Monarchies endure by limiting it. By minute 5, the phrase returns, heavier than before. Not as punishment, as rehearsal. From the perspective of Washington, this moment reads as institutional discipline. A signal that Spain's crown still understands information risk in an age of total exposure. In London, it is interpreted more quietly. A familiar move, the same calculus that once governed young heirs at Sandhurst and Balmoral. Control the channel, preserve the symbol. In Ottawa and Canberra, the reaction is less emotional, more procedural. A constitutional monarchy behaving exactly as expected. Reducing variables. Protecting continuity. Berlin watches differently. Germany, with its own history of fractured legitimacy, understands the danger of a symbolic misstep. Here, restraint reads as maturity. Yet beneath these external readings, something remains deliberately unspoken. Princess Leonor is not being shaped only for Spain as it is. She is being shaped for Spain as it may fracture. At minute 8, the silence deepens. No official statement lingers on the emotional cost. No palace aide discusses resistance or tears. Those details, if they exist, are absorbed and neutralized. Because the institution cannot afford a narrative of conflict between mother and heir. It can only allow a narrative of preparation. And this is where the personal dissolves entirely. She wasn't raising a daughter in that moment, she was protecting a future queen. That line circulates quietly among those who understand succession not as inheritance but as burden. The phone represented something dangerous. An unmediated channel. A space where tone is casual. Where context collapses. Where the crown could be reduced to a screenshot. At minute 10, the tension sharpens. Spain's monarchy does not operate in a vacuum. Republican sentiment never disappears, it waits. Economic pressure amplifies scrutiny. Regional identity tests cohesion. In such an environment, symbols matter more than statements. A future queen seen as fully embedded in institutional discipline reassures the center. A future queen seen as casually modern unsettles it. This is the midpoint strain. Not dramatic, structural. By minute 14, the point of no return arrives quietly. Once the phone is removed, it does not come back easily. Not because of distrust, but because reintroduction would signal that the training phase has ended. And it has not. The monarchy is not preparing Leonor for youth. It is preparing her for crisis. Every generation of European royalty faces a different threat. For this one, it is not revolution by force. It is erosion by perception. By minute 19, the future risk becomes visible. Artificial intimacy, deepfakes, manufactured scandals, narratives that spread faster than correction. A single uncontrolled device becomes a vulnerability node. From the outside, the gesture looked severe. From the inside, it looked late. And so the phrase returns one final time, stripped of shock and filled with consequence. Not because she could not be trusted, but because the institution cannot be. This story does not end with resolution. There is no return to normal, because normal no longer exists for a future queen. What comes next is not decided by affection or rebellion, but by how successfully continuity can be embodied in a world that resists restraint. The crown moves forward, carefully, quietly, and somewhere between duty and identity, a future queen learns that silence, too, is a form of power.